In the beginning, and there was no beginning or end. I'm just using that for my effect, for storytelling. In the beginning, there was one infinite energy. One infinite energy. Infinite. We've been describing this one infinite energy as unconditional universal love. Okay, we cannot describe it into words, but if we were, it's the love that doesn't have an opposite. It's not the love that's searching to be loved. That's human-made. Remember, it's the love that is already loved. And this one infinite energy manifested itself into billions of parts. The Big Bang, if you like. And gave each part the box, the intellect, so that each part built the identity that it was separate from who it truly is. And therefore, each part then became the soul. And each part then has a journey of coming back home. Just stay with me, okay? Don't try to understand anything I'm saying right now. Just stay with me. In the beginning, there was one infinite energy. This one infinite energy manifested itself into billions of parts, gave each part the identity, the perception, the box, if you like, that it was separate. In other words, gave each part the body, and each part assumed it was separate. So then each part feels there's something more still. There's something more that this can't be what life is about. There is something more. I feel that like I'm part of something greater. And each path has the opportunity to take this path. What's this path? The flow. You know, we talk about in the Intuitive Warrior the importance of being in the flow. It's not about just being effortless. It's not about your results or how you choose to live. When you're in the flow, when you're following your intuition, when you're following your intuition, it is guiding you back home. It's not about the experiences it gives you. Stay with me. Imagine, within your imagination, that's one part of you that's infinite, right? Listen to my words, what I said here. In the beginning, there's one infinite energy. This one infinite energy manifested itself in its imagination. Now, use your imagination. Imagine who you truly were was an infinite being. Can you imagine that for a moment? First of all, do we know what infinite means? Infinite means full power. It's not something that can be born. It's not something that can die. It has no beginning. It has no end. It has no boundaries. It has no parameters. It has no opposites. Duality has opposites, polarities. It doesn't have an opposite. Because the moment you say it has an opposite, or the moment you say there's a polarity or a separate part to it, it's no longer infinite. What's the one thing that an infinite being is limited? I mean, something that's infinite cannot be limited, so don't get stuck on the words. But what's the one thing that an infinite being cannot have? What's that? Limitation. Those who've done the program, hang in there. Let the other people go. Hey? an opposite. 2. If something, you as an infinite being, there cannot be two of you. Imagine you're an infinite being. As an infinite being, there can't be two, can there? See, a lot of people have studied a lot of this stuff, and they go, well, the infinite being was bored. Why would something that's infinite be bored? It's infinite. The one thing that an infinite being cannot have, it doesn't need to, but it cannot, is another infinite being. Imagine you are an infinite being. What will be the ultimate game? And I'm just going to call it a game. Some people don't like to call it a game because they lose their meaning and purpose. They've put their meaning and they get their purpose out of philosophy. They get their purpose out of truth. So as soon as it's a game, there's like, well, there's no purpose in that. Okay? But imagine you wanted to play a game as an infinite being. What would be the ultimate game that you could play? The ultimate of ultimate games. Yes?
Pretending that you're not.
Pretending that you're not. To experience yourself as a finite being. Okay? Go furthermore. All right? That is what most people come up with, that answer there. All right? It's not that it's the wrong answer. Okay? But go furthermore. We've already discussed it. Yes. Playing with yourself. Playing against yourself. So in other words, for there to be two of you. Okay, so 2, yes?
Experiencing a world where there is opposites.
Experience a world where there is opposites, yes? Okay. The ultimate game would be for you to play with another infinite being. Do you understand? Yes, it would be so cool as an infinite being to be experiencing limitation. And most people have come to understand that in their teachings. They're like, well, an infinite being, the ultimate game would be to experience yourself as a limited being. Okay? But that doesn't cut it yet. The ultimate game. Okay? And this is the thing. You didn't come here to be a limited being. You didn't come here to be limited. You came here to experience limitations because you have to through dualism. You came here to lose yourself, but then you're here to find yourself and become an infinite being again. So then you can play in a finite world with other infinite beings. You never came here to be limited. That is the understanding that people's work have come to. Well, as an infinite being, well, it will be cool to play the opposite. Go one step further. What is the infinite being really looking for? To play with other infinite beings, which would not be possible in infinite land. So, imagine that you're a computer programmer and you design programs, games. Okay? You design games, and we're in the future now, somewhere down the future, and technology can support you to design whatever game you want to play. And as the designer of this video game, you want to make a game that gives you a total experience, a total immersion, an experience that feels like you're actually there. Wouldn't that be the ultimate game? Like a virtual reality kind of game. How cool would that be? They're going to make that soon where you'll be having sex, but you're not really having sex. You like that? So imagine you're making this game, all right? And you design the game, and this game is called Your Life. And you start playing this game, and here you are, you're playing the game, and it's a game of your life. And here you are, you're watching yourself, you're playing this game. And the game is cool, you're having lots of fun, but then you think to yourself, no, I want to have a deeper experience. I want to have a more in-depth immersion. I want to have a total immersion experience. So then you go, okay, you go back to the programmers, you go, I want to make this more immersive. So then you create yourself to be in the game. So you're actually playing the character. Before you were playing on the joystick and you were moving the character around. Now you're playing, but you're actually the character. And you're moving around, doing your thing. Okay? Does the experience become more real? It becomes more, because that's the ultimate thing, to make it real. Because that's what deepens the experience, to make it real. So now you're in this video game playing. How could you make it even more real? Yes. Forget that you're playing the game. Then, when you as the character experiences fear, the fear will be real. Do you understand? But it's not real. But it damn well feels like it because that's what you came here to experience. You came to experience it as real. But you also programmed in this. You programmed in this game that you're playing that on this date or around about this date, you have an awareness, you have an insight, and you manifest this teacher or this seminar that you go to that continues to remind you, hang on, this is all made up. And then something within you will go, yeah, that's true. The whole thing is made up. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is real because you came here to experience it to be real. You wanted the full real experience. But you've also programmed in this to wake up again. Can you see what I'm saying? Because you didn't want to just forget. You wanted to forget momentarily. You came here to lose yourself so that you can then find yourself. You are now going through the process of finding yourself. You put this in your program. It's not me. You manifested me to be speaking what I'm speaking. You're manifesting to feel what you're feeling right now. But the ego can go and give credit or give blame. Some of you are already giving credit to me. Some of you are already blaming me. Watch the ego. Okay. In the beginning, there was one infinite energy. And this one infinite energy manifested itself in its own imagination into billions of parts. Gave each part the box, the identity. And as each part take their journey back home, each part becomes infinite. When this part comes back home, it becomes infinite. Then when this part comes back home, it also becomes infinite. Yes? How many infinites you got now? Infinite times infinite is the truth. But now you have two infinite beings. What happens when this part comes home? Now you have three infinite beings. What was the one limitation an infinite being had? And again, that does not really make sense because if something is infinite, it doesn't have a limitation. Okay? Don't listen to my words. But what is the one limitation? What is the one restriction? It can only be one infinite. So that what if you as the infinite being wanted to play with other infinite beings? Let me give you a little metaphor. Imagine who you truly are as an infinite being, if I was to give you a little metaphor, is the ocean. Now, the ocean's not really infinite, but it's the closest thing I can find that's physical, because nothing that's physical is infinite. It's the formless that's infinite. That's why I say this is not who you are. By the way, why do you think you connect to the ocean and feel at home and feel peace within yourself? Do you really think it's because it's just an ocean? Because it's all one. There's no separation. It's all one. It reminds you of home. Same thing as a desert. You go into the desert and just connect to the desert. A rainforest, it's all green. And you think, wow, so beautiful. It reminds you of home. It reminds you of who you truly are. So imagine who you are is the ocean. And as the ocean, you're infinite, and then you felt, I would love to play a game. You don't need to play this game. There's no need in this. I would love to play a game with another infinite being. But the only way you could do that is to create separation. So you, as the infinite being, as the entire ocean, as liquid, manifest yourself into ice and take the shape of a bottle. Who's been to those -5 bars? There's one in Sydney, -5. You go in there, everything's made out of ice. Even the glass that you order the drink at the bar from is made out of ice. Imagine that being that ice right now. So you manifest a part of yourself. You are the ocean. You manifest, I need another bottle, please. You manifest a part of yourself. Thank you. You manifest a part of yourself to take shape of this bottle. And then you open the lid and you take out a drop of the ocean and then you put this back onto the ocean. What happens? After a little time, you start to think, I am this drop. Are you this drop? No, you're the ocean. But you start to identify being separate and identify yourself as being this body. Yes? And then you manifest another part of yourself at the same time to be a different shaped bottle. Another drop. Yes? And these two drops, they think they're the drop, but who are they really? The entire ocean. They're not different oceans, they are the same oceans. And these two bottles start to interact and experience life. Yeah? And they think they're in control. Yeah? The drop thinks it's control, but the drop doesn't have enough power to be in control because the drop's power is this much. It's just being moved along the ocean, just like a chess piece. You meant to meet this person. Can you see what I'm saying? And then this bottle starts to go, I feel I'm part of something greater. There's got to be something more to this. And it starts to search externally, in the external world. It starts to look for itself in this other bottle. No, it wasn't there. Going in, and I need to give. I'm giving. No, got a slap in the face when I gave. Something's still missing. And then it realizes there's something within itself that is moving it. So it starts to look within itself. It starts to look within the drop, within the soul, and starts the journey, the path back home. And as it gets deeper and deeper, home, as it gets deeper and deeper on the path, it's as though it is floating on the ocean. And on the ocean, it could be rough. It could be still. But what happens as you fall deeper into the ocean? Calmer. There could be a tsunami, and you're just on a floor bed, and it'll be complete stillness. Remember the story? The up and down will happen, but it will happen around you. Remember that, okay? When this drop of the ocean arrives back home, do you know what happens? The bottom of the bottle melts away. Yeah? What happens to the drop? When the bottom of the bottle melts, the ice melts back into the ocean. The bottle still exists, but what happens to the drop? No more drop. The drop was the illusion. No more drop. So what happens now? It becomes the one. That's what it means to become. In many spiritual texts, they talk about the one returning. In a lot of religions, they talk about Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Moses, whatever it is that you believe in. The prophet will return. And we are now at a time where the one is returning. But it's returning through the many. Okay? Because this is what happens next. Now, when it's no longer the drop, who is it really now? It's the ocean, which is what? What I say the ocean was? Infinite. It's become an infinite being playing in a finite world. What's the finite world? The body's still finite. You're still here, but you're no longer this body. You're using the body to experience your infiniteness. Do you understand? Okay? And then you start to share with this bottle and go, hey, you need to check inside, man. It's on the inside. It's not outside. Oh, I've been looking on the outside. Oh, cool. What happens when this follows its path back home? And this drop comes back home. What happens to this drop? What happens when the bottom becomes bottomless? What happens to the drop? No more drop. It becomes the infinite ocean. Hello, what do we have here? Two infinite beings. Which is not possible in infinite land. But if you manifest a land which you call physical land, which you can experience duality in, where there's two, now you have two infinite beings. Welcome to what they call heaven. That's all what we're manifesting here. You, as one infinite being, is manifesting your heaven. Taking the path away from home is what we call hell. It's the state of being. It's taking place right here, right now. Two infinite beings playing in a finite world. In other words, the body is still finite. At this point, you are the writer and the director of your movie. When the mind or the heart is still closed, your power is that much. Thank you. Your water's blessed now. No, I'm just joking. I hope you're reading between the lines. You came here. You came from here. You came here to experience being the drop, but you came here to be the one. Who you truly are is the one infinite ocean, is the one infinite being. But your perception of being disconnected from that one will create the chase that you're looking for. What you're actually looking for is the one. But you're looking for it in the next thing that you do. In recognition, appreciation, acceptance, approval, and security. And that's love. Who you are is love. Let me share with you another story. By the way, the reason why you fear your own power, as Mandela said, the reason why you fear your light, not your darkness. Because our greatest fear is the amount of power that we have, not the lack of power that we have. That is our greatest fear. And the reason you fear your true self, you fear the unknown, you fear death, you fear your power, is because you are unconscious of this, but you know that there is a greater part of you, and you can feel its power, and it's very, very powerful. Just like when you're floating on the ocean, the drop has an awareness that it is part of something grander, and that something grander is who it is. And this drop thinks that it needs to fit the entire ocean into this bottle. Man, I would be shitting myself too. But that's not what happens. That's not what you do. What happens is the bottom of the bottle becomes bottomless. What happens is you transcend time and space. What happens is you transcend the identity of being this body and realize it's just a costume that you wear. You're not this bottle, are you? You're the entire ocean. And when you realize that, your heart opens. And when your heart opens, you become the one ocean, experiencing yourself through the body. So the only thing that moves you is the one. Now, do you think the one experiences limitations? No. Do you think the one experiences fear? No. Do you think the one is sitting there planning and reacting to its circumstances? No. It's infinite. Who you truly are is an infinite being. You came here to experience yourself as a finite being and lose yourself, so then you can find yourself and experience yourself as an infinite being in a finite world. Let me tell you another story. It's a story of a professor who contacts his old students, his alumni. And he contacts his alumni and says, I'm having a gathering for the class of 86 or whatever it was. And says, would you guys be so kind to join me? So they all said yes. They all really respected the professor. They looked up to him and said, of course, we'll come down. And they have this reunion. And these alumni are very well established. They're very successful. They've got families. They're professionals in their fields. They've got status and credibility and so on. And they gather around and they're all having a conversation in the gathering. And the professor notices a common thread in the conversation. Everyone was talking about some future point where they're going to arrive. If this happens, then we'll arrive. If I get my next $1 million, I'll arrive. If I get my next impact when I'm in my business, I will arrive. They're all looking for the future. They're looking for the point of arrival. So the professor decides to give them one of the greatest lessons that he could pass on to them. And he says to them, who would love a cup of coffee? And everyone went, that would be great, Professor. I'll love a cup of coffee. So the professor goes away and comes back with a tray with a jug filled with coffee, puts it down. Then goes away again and comes back with another tray with a wide range of cups, different variety of cups. I mean, he bought foam ones, he bought plastic ones, he bought ceramic ones, but then he bought all these ones that are, fine china with different jewels and rubies and crystals and stuff on it. Really prestigious cups. And he placed the range of cups there, and he says, help yourself. And the alumni went around and they all served themselves some coffee, and they're standing there drinking their coffee, continuing their conversation. And the professor says, can I interrupt you for one moment? And they said, sure, Professor. And he said, take a look at the cup you have all picked. And they all take a look. And of course, it was the most prestigious cup. It was the most expensive, the one with the fine china, the one something like the Queen would drink out of, for example. And they all went, well, yes, we picked the best cup. I noticed that you had some plastic and ceramic and foam cups, but we picked the best cup. And the professor goes, why did you? Why did you pick the best cup? And they all turned around to the professor and they were looking at him going, and one of them spoke up and said, why not, Professor? You've always taught us to have the best in life. The best was available for us. What are you saying? We should be humble and take the ceramic cup? Why not take the best? And the professor said, no doubt. But does your coffee taste any different? And they went, well, no, the coffee tastes the same. You see, the cup is your physical world. What you're looking for is not in the physical world. Who you truly are is the coffee. And you have the coffee. It doesn't matter what cup it's in. It doesn't matter what home it lives in. It doesn't matter what body it lives in. But we continuously look to better ourselves, to find who we are. Nothing wrong with bettering yourself. But you're not going to find who you are. Who you are is the coffee. It's not going to be found in the physical. It's not going to be found in the next home. Yes, you'll buy a bigger home, you'll buy a bigger car, you'll have a bigger bank balance. It would make a different experience of life. But the person who's got the bigger home versus the person who's got no home have the same ability to find the coffee. It has nothing to do with it. I'm not saying don't have material possessions, but it has nothing to do with you finding yourself, which is ultimately what you're here looking for. Whether you know it or not, you just think it's in the next car or the next job or the next, I want to give back to the world so then people will love me. See the iceberg? The iceberg is who you are. It's your physical world. Who you truly are is the ocean. This body is the physical. Who you truly are is not the physical, it's the formless. But guess what's in the physical? Empty space. You'll understand this tomorrow when we talk about oneness in a scientific form. This body is not here. When I'm saying it's not real, tomorrow I'll describe it to you in a scientific matter. Science has got to a point of understanding that you are not here. Your body is not here. It's all empty space. What I'm trying to say to you is that you are experiencing this through one imagination. You're experiencing this through consciousness. It's not so hard to believe. When you have a dream at night time, do you think you're there? Do you? You have no doubt that you're there. But then you awaken and go, oh, it was just a dream. But you're going to me, well, I am here. I can feel things. Yes, you use that to support it. You use that to support that you're here because you came here to have a real experience. Do you know it's not even these eyes that see? Do you know your brain is sending a signal to you, telling you what you're seeing? Who's ever cut their hand before and it didn't even hurt, but the moment they looked at it, they went, ah! You told yourself it's got to hurt. Formless, liquid, solid. Form, formless. What's the solid made out of? The water, the liquid. What's the form made out of? Formless. Energy. It's just energy. You know that empty space you feel? Guess what's in that empty space? But you disguised it by giving it an electric fence. So you don't go there until you're ready to go there. What does this mean for you? You know, it's quite interesting. I have people who come to me at the end of my talk, at the end of today, or sometimes at the end of tomorrow, and they come up to me and they go, Amir, I totally resonated with what you're saying. I don't know how I know what you're saying, but I can feel it, and it feels to be true. And I say, great, I'm glad, I'm pleased for you. And they said, but I've got a question. I said, what's the question? Well, I get it. I totally get that we're an infinite being. But we're still human. You know, we're still limited. I'm like, no, you missed the point. This human is not who you are. You are the writer and director. This part is just the physical is the chess piece that you're moving. It's not who you are. When I say you become the writer and director of your movie, some of you are thinking, I, as Amir, will become the writer and director of the movie. No, this is frightening for some of you. Because for you to really, and some of you are getting what I'm talking about, but you're getting it at a kindergarten level. Okay? I'll tell you what I hear in the world. What I hear all the teachers talking about in the world is, when it comes to oneness, is not all of them, but many of them, they're talking about oneness is the interconnectedness of everything. So in other words, oneness is that you and I are connected. Right? The reason why you're fearing to really understand what I'm saying to you is because if you truly, and that's at kindergarten level, saying, what's your name again? Joanna. So I'm saying I as Amir and Joanna are connected. And see, that's easy to understand and go, yeah, that feels true, Amir. Yep, I feel that we're all connected. We're brothers and sisters in this world. We're connected. No. When you understand that you are the one, there can no longer be an Amir and Joanna. Sorry, I thought it was Jennifer. Joanna. Do you understand? Amir can no longer exist. I cannot be Amir and be the one. Do you understand? Your ego is sitting here going, this guy's cracked. You know, he's saying, what? Come on, guys. He's saying we're not here. We don't exist. Like, come on. What's this guy on? What's he been smoking? Because you don't really want to get oneness, because if you really want to get oneness, you have to give up yourself. You have to give up the identity. So then your ego will come and go, no, I understand. We are all interconnected. No, you don't exist. The moment you say you and I are connected, that's two. There's no identity in oneness. Now, most people go, well, that's just not possible to live here. You all came here to be the one. Do you understand the power you have? If you truly understood, you wouldn't be in the matrix working for all the people who are controlling, which you've manifested. Because the truth is, they don't exist either. You just manifested it that way. When I want to change my reality, I don't go and try and change the iceberg. When an everyday person wants to change their reality, they think that this person needs to change it. The iceberg needs to go. It's as though the person who's got power in the physical world will go up to the iceberg and chisel away. They put the scuba diver gear on and they're chiseling. They go, I want to change my life. And they're looking to change the shape of the iceberg. Do you think the one does that? The one is the ocean. So what does the one do if it wants to change its reality? It melts the ice back into the ocean and freezes it up and takes a different shape. And by the way, for those who have the fear of death of the physical is when this bottle and the drop melt away and become one with the ocean. So don't worry if you think you've done bad things. You're not going to hell. You'll be coming back to the one. I'll come to you in a moment. Hell is here, right here. There is no future. What I'm talking about here is timeless. Timeless. You're transcending time and space. We're going to do a meditation later on, and I'll get you to feel what I'm talking to you about. I'm not going to leave you hanging. Who feels so far what I'm talking about? Put your hand up if you feel it. Okay, well, we're going to do a guided meditation just to make sure you have a direct experience of what we just talked about. What was I saying here? Question, microphone.
I mean, my concept of what you're telling us is that once we get it, we don't really need this body anymore because the spiritual has had the human experience, and so we don't need the body anymore.
And then that's when you're free to use the body.
Okay.
You see, when you think you're the body and you haven't gotten it, you have a fear of losing the body. The moment you came here and you identify with the body, you've always had a fear of death. And as the time goes on, that fear of death gets closer and closer and closer. Right? But when you realize you're not this body, your fear of death goes away and you get to use the body for what it truly is and what you truly came here to experience. What I'm talking about is not dying. Okay, not leaving the physical world. Remember, you got to die before you die. The part of you that dies is your idea that you are separate from who you truly are. In other words, the ego is the part of you that dies. Now, there's still some ego, a small percentage, because you're still, remember, I said you're an infinite being in a finite world. The finite will still have some ego, but the ego is not calling the shots. You're calling the shots. In other words, you and the ego become one, and the ego becomes your servant rather than your master. It's just the role of the ego changes. Because really, who's the ego anyway? If there's one infinite energy, and the one infinite energy manifested itself into this drop, anything that is manifested from this drop, and one of the things that's manifested is the ego, is the one. If you go deep enough into... See, in this drop, in the duality, there's love and fear. Guess what love and fear are? I'm talking about the human love here. Okay, that's more of a need. Both love and fear, all right, is this universal. Nothing exists but this. Like, do you understand who you truly are as an infinite being? Nothing exists but this. The child in Africa is this. The rapist is this. Do you understand? So some of those people who had, microphone over here, some of those people who had some of those deep questions about, well, what about when this going in the world? Well, who is that? I'll come to you in a moment. Just hold on. Something to come through. You got to understand, we as human beings are at the tip of the iceberg of understanding or experiencing, I should say, what love is, what universal unconditional love is. So here's the thing, if I was to describe what universal unconditional love is only something you can find for who you truly are. So this is why it's all about you. Okay? Because when you realize the truth of who you are, you realize the truth of who someone else is. You see, if you go deep within you, when you come back to this point here and you realize you are the one, it's impossible not to love yourself because you become love. And that's the only unconditional love that you will experience. Unconditional love is the love that you experience for the truth of who you are. Because the truth of who you are, with a capital T, is unconditional love, is universal love. And when you experience the truth of who you are, you will experience unconditional love. And it's only when you experience the truth of who you are that you could pull the curtain behind someone else's eyes and see unconditional love in someone else, not for who they are. It's not Sam here. Sam is the one. So I have unconditional love, not for Sam. Sam's just a character in my movie. She's not even real. Who's the real? Who's moving Sam? The truth of who I am. Because the two drops, remember, the two drops are the same ocean. These two drops are the same ocean. So what you're experiencing when you're experiencing unconditional universal love is the love for yourself as the one. If you want to have unconditional love for your child, you can't love the body. The body's going to be conditional. You think, oh no, I conditionally love my daughter, I unconditionally love my son. No, you don't. I'll tell you when you unconditionally love your daughter or son. It's when you have absolutely no attachment to them. Absolutely no agenda. If you have an attachment, that's not unconditional because love doesn't have an attachment. Trust me, I've seen my mother put her 19-year-old daughter into the ground without attachment, with love. I saw it with my own eyes. Ask her twin sister, my sister sitting there, over there. It was her twin sister. I saw everyone be attached. My mother's the one who guided me on this path. And saw my mother put her daughter in 6 feet under without attachment. So this is when I'm talking about unconditional universal love, there's no attachment. So the only way you can have unconditional love, I mean, my mum's, she's been someone who's been amazing on my journey. She's the one who's been guiding me on this path. And I'm hoping to be able to do the same thing for you, to guide you. She's the one who's been doing it. And one of the greatest things that my mum's got to me to realize is that, my mum will do something for me and I'll go, Mum, thank you. I have the best mum in the world. She goes, Amir, you're an idiot. She goes, I'm not your mum. Here I am teaching. I am not your mum. I am not doing this because you're my son. I am doing this because the one is moving through me to do this for you. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? That you are teaching this right now. It's the one in you that is moving me to say what I'm saying. My mum's saying, I'm not your mum. Let's just pretend. So you can see I had an interesting upbringing. Right, Gaz? Okay, question.
To live in this world, though, like you said, we're infinite beings in a finite world. And so from your Intuitive Warrior seminars and this one, our intuition is what we use essentially to get back home.
Yeah.
So that's what we use, that's what we follow.
That's right.
We feel that sense. And from some of the stories I've heard you say as well, that's where magic happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. See, you're using your Look, I told you my mum guided me on this path. She didn't show me the way. She guided me. Okay? And this is what I want to do for you guys if you want it. See, I use my intuition to have a direct experience of what I'm talking about. You're here this weekend and you're having a conversation with me, a conversation that my mother once had with me. But then I had to take that and follow my intuition. You know, pretty much what my mum did for me is validate that what I was feeling within me was real. Pretty much what I'm doing for you is validating that what you're feeling within you is real. It's getting you to remember. This is a remember process. You're remembering. You're becoming a remember of the one. Does that make sense? So yes, but you're using your intuition for that. So you can use you see what happens is your intuition when you start searching for the truth within yourself, your intuition picks up a tool, which is your intellect, and it starts using your thoughts to go and ask questions inside of you. So that's why I say your intellect is used to either become conscious or it's used to become more unconscious. You're either playing the game of becoming conscious or becoming unconscious. But at the beginning, you came here to be unconscious. Whether you like it or not, your children are going to be born and they're going to be unconscious. If you want them to become conscious quicker, support them through what they're experiencing through their unconsciousness. Can you see what I'm saying? That's unconditional love, to be able to support the one in them getting lost, because that's the path they came to experience first. Okay, what I'm going to do now is we're going to do this process together.